Ushi no Toki Mairi. Ushi no Toki Mairi or Ushi no Koku Mairi means shrine visit at the hour of the ox. The hour of the ox is an archaic way to tell time in Japan. The hour of the rat means from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. The hour of the dragon means from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. However, the hour of the ox is from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. So, visiting a shrine at this hour, which is still pitch black dark outside, is bizarre. However, it is said that during the hour of the ox, if you pray at the shrine, there is a higher chance that the kami of that shrine will hear and entertain your prayer. However, this seemingly innocent ritual has been perverted into something evil, with curses and hexes. This ritual is a terrible ritual with the objective to inflict curse on a person. It is pretty famous and remains one of the more infamous topics in the darker side of Japanese traditions. The basis of the ritual boils down to the act of pounding nails into a straw doll. But what makes the ritual interesting is the custom surrounding the ritual, and also the motivation of the person who is inflicting the curse. The person, usually depicted as women, were depicted in a very eerie manner. Her face painted white with streaks of blue or black like a ghost, her hair wild, and on top of her head she wears an upturned iron trivet, usually with 2 or 3 legs. On each of the legs, or horns I would say, attached a lit candle. She wears a white robe, her face a sinister and scary expression. She wears a 1-o'clock guitar. In one hand she holds a hammer, and on the other a very sharp and long nail. Besides her, a tree, with a straw doll already nailed to the bark of the tree. The uniform that she wears is essential when performing this ritual, as it is said that this ritual is terrible, and only a demon can perform such deeds. Thus, they wear something that makes them look like a demon, or oni, for the curse to be effective. The doll serves as the recipient of the curse, seem like voodoo dolls you see in cartoons and stuff. When the nail is pounded through the doll, the targeted person will feel pain and suffer greatly on the same part of the body where the nail ran through the doll. However, if she pounds the head of the doll, the target person will die immediately. However, where is the fun in that? Some say this ritual is actually a summoning ritual, to summon evil spirits to help inflict pain on the targeted person. There are several conditions, however, when performing this ritual. 1. Perform this ritual in secret. Do not let anyone see that you are performing this ritual, or else the curse will bounce back to you. Next is that in order for the curse to work, it must be performed in the hour of the ox. Why? Because this hour is the right hour. For one, the kami of the shrine will more likely help you. Secondly, no one is around at the hour. It is said that not all shrines work, though. One of the best shrines to perform this ritual is the Kifune Jinja in Kyoto. Not only that, the tree that is used as a place to pound the doll has to be a secret tree called Shinboku. The ritual was pretty much a real thing, and nowadays it is banned in the country. Some nail scars resulting from the ritual can still be seen at the sacred tree in the Kifune Jinja grounds. As for the motivation on why people perform this curse, well, lots actually. It can be jealousy, heartbreaks, family and marriage issues, and also good old sweet revenge. Kleenex commercial. In 1985, Kleenex released a commercial in Japan. Apparently, it is said that the commercial is cursed. When you watch the commercial, which is still available on YouTube today still, you can see a child dressed up as a red oni, and beside him an actress sitting together. A box of tissue sits in the middle. Then the tissue flies out of the box, sheet by sheet. In the background is the voice of a woman singing an English song. Well, the urban legend goes like this, that the child actor and the actress and all the crew members were cursed and met horrifying fates. The child actor was said to become ill and was diagnosed with a mysterious illness that resulted in his death. The actress became mentally unstable after the shooting of the commercial. She entered into a mental asylum and eventually ended herself there. Some say that she became like that because she gave birth to a literal Oni baby, like the one in the commercial. The other crew was said to die due to horrific accidents and circumstances. Anyway, the main reason for this supposed curse is supposedly from the background song. It is said that the song is actually a song used in black mass ritual, and it is actually a German song, and the translated lyrics said, "Die, die, one by one. I will curse you all until you die." Because of this supposed cursed song, anyone who watches the commercial or listens to the song will be cursed and eventually die horrific death, including having a strong urge to commit. That includes you and me right now. It is also said that if you decided to record the commercial back then and replay it, the commercial is a bit different. The red Oni boy is said to be blue this time, and the singing voice now sounds hideous, as if an old grandma was chanting it instead. The commercial is a bit strange in a way, but rest assured, nothing sinister actually happened. Okay, let us go into the debunking process. For one, this commercial was very famous and aired on TVs all throughout Japan. If what they say were true, which is if you watch or listen to the commercial, you will die or die, then nearly every Japanese person would be dead by now, but they aren't. Next is the whole story of the child actor and actress being cursed and died. Well, the actress goes by the name Matsuzaka Keiko, and she is still alive and well to this day. And as far as record goes, she has not given birth to any Oni baby. As for the music, if you are an English speaker, this is very easy to debunk, as the song is actually the song called "It's a Fine Day", written by Edward Burton. But this commercial featured a cover version sung by a female singer. So how did it come so far? From an English song to a so-called demonic German curse chant? Well, it is really easy, in Japan at least. Back in the day, English speakers were way less than it is now. So the rumor of an unknown language speaking evil stuff but in actuality it isn't is pretty easy to spread. The urban legend was probably spread and made up due to the eerie nature of the commercial itself, which I also agree, because the commercial does feel a bit off at times. Kuchisake Onna. A seemingly young, beautiful woman roams around the area where you live. On the way to school, you catch a glimpse of her now and then. Was she following you? She wears a red coat, quite a bizarre outfit to be wearing in this summer heat. Her hair flowing long, but her face is covered with a surgical mask that she wears. She approached you. She asked, "Am I pretty?" You answered yes. Even now, she asks again, as she opens her mask, revealing a grotesque sight. Her mouth seems to split wide apart from ear to ear, with sharp fangs glistening inside her mouth. You were startled and shocked by such an appearance. However, you tried to remain composed and decided to lie to her. You still answered yes. Then, suddenly, she reaches inside her coat, bringing out a sickle and starts to attack you. You decided to run away. However, she was so much faster than any human, and as she catches you, she sticks her sickle inside your mouth and starts to rip it from ear to ear. Kuchisake Onna is perhaps the most famous urban legend in Japan, widely known throughout the 70s and 80s, particularly among school children. The name Kuchisake Onna is pretty straightforward. Kuchi means mouth, sake means to rip or tear something. Onna means woman. Being a famous entity that she is, there are so many different variations of her and her origin story, spread across different prefectures of the country. These are some of the various origin stories of Kuchisake Onna. First origin story, it is said that she is a victim of botched plastic surgery. One key detail about this story is that the doctor who did it was wearing a strong smelling pomade, which is an important piece of info for later. Second origin story said that she is the youngest sister from the 3 sisters of a family. Her 2 older sisters died in a tragic accident that left her alone. It is said that for whatever reason, both of her sisters' mouths were torn apart due to the accident. Because of this, she went crazy and decided to slit her own mouth to follow her sisters. One story, which I believe is the oldest one, tells a story of how a wife was caught cheating by her samurai husband. As a punishment, the husband brandishes his sword and slits his wife's mouth from ear to ear to make his wife ugly, and no man will ever approach her ever again. To talk about her in deep detail will take so much time, so let us move on to how she looks. Again, her main feature is her wide torn mouth. However, different prefectures have different variations on her appearance. She is described as wearing an all-red attire, from a red beret hat to a red dress or coat, and her red high heels or boots. All of this to hide and blend the bloodstains of her victims when she slashes them. In Edogawa Ward, Tokyo, it is said that she carries with her a red umbrella, which allows her to fly away. She is particularly active around urban and suburban areas, especially around school areas, as she likes to prey on school children. Well, her way of attack is pretty simple. She asks you whether she is pretty or not. Then she will show you her face, asking again the same question. The answer yes or no does not make any difference in this particular scenario, because both will end in your death. Running away will also lead to the same outcome, as she can run super fast, able to cover 100 meters in just 3 seconds. It is said that she has a strong attachment or favor with the number 3. She will likely often roam around areas with names that have the kanji number 3, such as Mitaka City or Sangen Jaya. Both areas are in Tokyo. Why is this? Well, there is not much explanation. Maybe the fact that she is the third sister? When talking about Kuchisake Onna, we must talk about how it is to escape from her terror. For one, answer her question in the most vague way possible, such as "you are average" or "you are so-so," will make her ponder on what you meant by that kind of answer, giving you ample time to escape. Next is to wear a pomade, because remember, her supposedly plastic surgeon wore a very strong smelling pomade. The mere sight of shiny hair or smell of pomade would scare her. If you don't wear pomade, then you can chant the word pomade 3 times. That will work as well. She has a very strong fondness for candy, so having some candy with you at all times might prove useful when encountering her. You can distract her with some candy, and also for whatever reason, she could not climb a building past the 2nd floor. And also, she will not follow you if you enter a record or cosmetic shop. Hachishaku Sama or Hachishaku Sama. If you are well involved in current Japanese media like anime, manga, video games, you might have seen or heard of her. Hachishaku Sama is the best example of a modern yokai, born in the age of the internet. The story of Hachishaku Sama originates from an anonymous thread-based website, Ni-chan or 2chan, which is in a lot of ways similar to 4chan or Yon-chan, I guess, in Japanese. The poster posted a post telling a supposed story of his encounter with the Hashi-sama way back then, when he was a high school student. It was spring break, and let's call the poster as A-san. A-san went to visit his grandparents in the rural parts of Japan. Where exactly it is was not said by A-san. So, one day when he was relaxing on the veranda of his grandparents' house, he suddenly heard a peculiar sound. Po, po, po. Then, over the grandparents' house fence, he saw a white straw summer hat. He paid no mind to it at first, but he started to think, the fence is tall, so how tall is this person? When the person walked past a gap in the fence, he saw a very tall woman wearing a white dress. Super tall, at about 8 feet tall, and big too. She went around the corner and disappeared. As she went away, so did the po 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 sound. Later that night, he told his grandparents about his weird encounter. His grandparents suddenly panicked, and the grandpa started to make phone calls. He asked his grandma what was going on. His grandma explained what he had encountered was Hachishaku Sama, a monster that preys on young men and teenagers. The only people that can see her are the ones that are targeted by her. So that night, A-san was put inside a room covered with talismans. Salt was poured all around the corners of the room. His grandpa warned him to not in any circumstances open the door of the room until daylight comes, no matter what happened and no matter what he heard from outside. So that night, he sits inside the room. Then suddenly, he heard the sound, po po po. A-san was on the edge, scared shitless. Then suddenly, the voice of his grandpa came from the other side of the door, begging A-san to open and let him in. Remembering his grandpa's warning, he decided to ignore the voice of supposedly his grandpa. When day comes, his grandparents escorted him out of the room. He was surprised to see his family, uncle and cousins are now there at the house as well. All of them then escorted A-san out of the house and into a van. Inside the van, A-san is in the middle, while he is surrounded by his relatives. He was escorted out of the village, and ever since that incident, he could not set foot back into the village because surely the monster will come back looking for him. It is said that Hachishaku Sama was some sort of kami, an evil kami at that. Also, it is said that it is bound at the village, unable to go anywhere else. Hence, the only way to survive her attack is to flee from the village. Diving deeper into the lore, it is said that Hachishaku Sama will roam around the village to feed every 10 years or so. And the reason that the villagers are okay with this thing roaming around in the first place is because there was some sort of contract between Hachishaku Sama and the village. It is said that Hachishaku Sama made a deal saying that if the villagers let her haunt the village every 10 years, she will in exchange increase the water supply to the village, maybe through rain and such, therefore increasing the harvest of the village's rice field, which is a good deal in the long term for the village. The village gets a bountiful harvest, and in exchange, some poor sod is going to get sacrificed every 10 years. So in a way, she has the ability to manipulate weather. Speaking of abilities, it is said that she is able to shapeshift. Not only from her tall, slender, beautiful woman form, she also can become an elderly woman or a lady farmer. But one thing that is similar in all of her appearances is that she always wears a hat. Other than that, she has the ability to mimic other people's voices and also vanish into thin air. However, the story of A-san ends with a bleak tone, stating that a Jizo statue that is the one that bounds Hachishaku Sama has been destroyed due to unknown reasons, meaning that now Hachishaku Sama is free to roam all around the country. That is the main story of it. But over the years, more people come in with their own stories, expanding her lore, which is basically how yokai lore began back then, and it is really cool to see that process happening today. Nakagawara Coast World War II Ghost. On July 28, 1955, around 200 students from Su Municipal Hashikita Junior High School, Su City in Mie Prefecture, went for a swimming practice in Nakagawara Beach, which is situated in the same prefecture. The practice started at 10 AM, with 100 students getting into the water first. The accident occurred minutes after. The teacher claimed to have seen a bizarre white line in the waters, approaching the shore from the ocean. The white lines disappear as they near the shores, so he did not make any fuss about it. However, minutes later, all of the students suddenly struggled to stay afloat, and they began to panic and scream for help as they are drowning. The teachers and assistants there all went to help them, but alas, they did not have enough time, and 36 female students drowned during swimming practice. After the whole incident, the survivors were asked what happened. They all came forward with the same story. They claimed to see a black mist approaching them. As the black mist drew near, they found out that it was a group of women with pale and terrifying expressions, wearing hoods. And as the women were approaching and nearing them, they suddenly disappeared. And not long after, they felt that hands were reaching out to them from underneath the water and pulling them down. Some even claimed to have seen pale faces in the water. One very bizarre thing is that it was said that one of the swimmers was found holding a bosai zokin. Bosai zokin is a cushion-like thing that can be opened up and worn as a hood. It is particularly used in the events of an earthquake to protect your head, and it was widely used by civilians during bomb raids in World War II to, again, protect from falling debris and such. How and why is this thing here? No one had brought one. Where did it come from? Not only that, it is such a bizarre thing to bring to a swimming practice. To make things more interesting and creepier, based on the survivors' reports, the phantom women all wear the same hood. Well, not long, the media caught hold of these accounts and started to link these bizarre accounts with what happened during World War II. Based on the records, thousands were killed in Sioux City, Mie Prefecture during World War II as a result of a bomb raid by the US forces. And it is said that the bomb raid was conducted on 28th of July, the very same date that the mass drowning happened 10 years later. Not only that, so many died, and the crematorium was destroyed that they decided to bury the bodies near the beach. So are the hooded phantom women the spirits of women who died during the bombing raid? Ningen, a cryptid that is said to inhabit Antarctica and has been a famous rumor to circulate around Japan for some reason. The word Ningen is translated as literally human. These creatures are said to be a huge white creature estimated around 20 to 30 meters in length. Reports vary, some claiming them to be humanoid creatures equipped with hands and feet, with 5 fingers and such, while some claim them to be some sort of aquatic creatures with fins and whale-like tails, or possessing cephalopod attributes like tentacles and such. It was first observed by crews of government whale research ships while going through the Antarctic waters. Later, it was popularized in Japan through the famous Japanese supernatural and unexplained phenomena magazine called MU Magazine in their November 2007 issue, where they call it Antarctic Humans. In this article, they speculated the existence of these creatures accompanied by photos of supposed creatures. However, the existence of this creature is solely based on claims and reports and grainy photos. So far, there is no solid proof that this creature even exists. Fan death. There is a sort of superstition going around Japan that electronic fans can kill you. It is said that if a person sleeps with a fan blasting directly at them without putting on oscillating mode, can result in several conditions that can pretty much cause the person to die. 1. A person can die of heat stroke. If the weather is hot, the fan will blow hot air at you. 2. You can die of hypothermia. According to this legend, a fan blowing at you all night long can lower your body temperature to the point of hypothermia. 3. Asphyxiation. It is said that since we breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide, if you sleep in a room overnight, the carbon dioxide level in the room can increase, and the fan will likely blow those carbon dioxide to your face, suffocating you. Lastly, a fan can lead to dehydration and then embolism, which is a blockage in the blood vessels. This urban legend is pretty much a myth, although it probably spread in the first place due to several deaths that were reported in the 70s, where fans are somewhat involved in their death. Like in 1970, there was a man who died of a heart attack after going out from a bath, which just so happens that the fan was blowing at him at the time. Although when thinking about it, it might and can happen, but it's definitely unlikely. For example, hypothermia happens when the surrounding temperature is super cold. I doubt a fan can drop the temperature that low unless you turn on a fan during the negative 20 degrees Celsius winter season. Next, the asphyxiation debate. Well, in terms of science talk, carbon dioxide can suffocate you. And that can happen, but you have to be living in some sort of airtight, unventilated room for that to happen. So yeah, it is a little silly superstition. Hanako San. Another famous urban legend / ghost story among school children. Hanako San, or the full name Toilet-bound Hanako San, is a ghost of a schoolgirl who supposedly died because of a bombing raid that happened during World War II. It is said that she was hiding in the third stall of the girls' toilet before she was killed by the bomb. Ever since that incident, it is said that her spirit haunts school toilets. Even though she died at a specific school, for whatever reason, her spirit haunts all the women's toilets across the country's schools. In order to summon or meet her ghost, you must perform a specific ritual. Go inside a woman's school toilet, then you must knock the empty third stall 3 times and call out for her. If you are lucky, the third stall will open and she will emerge from it. She looks like a normal Japanese schoolgirl, although maybe very outdated in terms of her dressing and fashion. She has a bob haircut and she wears a school uniform with a red dress. Her story has been passed down from generations to generations, from one student to another. Her story is a great example of kimodameshi, or a test of courage, where students will dare and test each other's courage to try summon Hanako-san by performing the ritual. You can say that she is also a good example of a modern yokai, and she started to become popular in the 90s. Fatal Fair. This is also quite a well-known ghost story not only in Japan but all around the world, even in my own country. Countless stories of taxi drivers picking up passengers, usually women, in strange locations, such as at a cemetery area, then only for her to vanish into thin air when the taxi arrived at its destination. The mysterious vanishing passengers were always described as bizarre and awfully quiet. When the taxi driver wants to make small talk, the passenger will always not respond to any of the questions or conversations. Some other spooky stuff are like how their face seemed dead or ghostly pale, and that when the driver looks at the rear view mirror, he can't seem to see the woman, but when he turns around and looks at the back, she is still there. When the passenger vanishes, all that is left is just a puddle of water on the back seat. Because of this, many taxi drivers decided not to pick up passengers or even drive through places like cemeteries at night, in hopes to avoid being the next victim of a ghostly passenger. Well, obviously, people believe that these passengers are spirits of dead people, and they are trying to get back home. Usually, the destination that these bizarre passengers requested turns out to be the house that they once lived when they were alive. However, the fatal in Fatal Fair comes from several stories or legends of how the taxi drivers who supposedly pick up ghost passengers died several days later, or the fact that the taxi driver who picked up these passengers were controlled by some unknown forces and they swerved the car, crashing it or driving it off a cliff. Aokigahara Suicide Hunters. Aokigahara, or in English translated as Sea of Trees, is exactly that. 30 square kilometers of thick, dense forest, with volcanic rocks serving as the forest's floor. This forest is a result of Mount Fuji explosion a long time ago. The minerals and such that came out from the volcano's ash and lava increased the fertility of the ground around it, resulting in such a beautiful forest. It is one of the most famous tourist spots in Japan. However, it is also famous for something dark. Aokigahara is known as one of, if not the most famous spot for people to end themselves. Due to its very denseness and overall difficulty in navigating the forest, people who wanted to end themselves found this to be a perfect spot to do it, without anyone watching or searching for them, to go in peace and quiet, if you can call it that. The forest itself has seen many people die, not because of sight, but also they were lost in the forest. Not only that, I have heard a case of a hiker, I believe, who was eaten by a bear there. Also, another reason why people consider this a good spot to go is that Japanese people believe Mount Fuji is a sacred mountain, one of the 3 sacred mountains in fact. So perhaps by committing here may perhaps ease the suffering of their soul. However, the suicide hunters is actually an urban legend, theorizing that what if not all people who wanted to go there and die did not die by their own hands, but instead was killed by a person or a group of people instead. These so-called hunters will wait for a person to enter the forest, then they follow the person and kill him or her instead. It is a perfect crime to get away considering everything. The forest is thick and difficult to navigate, so it's very rare that people will come to hike there. Not only that, when a person dies inside there, it is not until it is far too late for people to find them. Usually people find them already as a pile of bones scattered on the forest floor, making it impossible for police to identify the cause of death. So the police ruled them out as another. So why would these hunters kill these people? Well, maybe because to satisfy their sick fantasies, or some sort of sport, who knows. Anyways, it is an interesting thought to think about. However, these hunters existing is unlikely. For one, there is no direct proof of any foul play. And secondly, the hunters themselves can get lost in the forest. So that is a risk, and I don't think murderers will go that far, I guess. So that is all for today. This video will mark the beginning of a new series for this channel. And also for the next video, I will probably continue my Yokai Guide Volume 2, seeing that the Yokai Guide Volume 1 that I have uploaded right now has reached around 4K viewers, the video with the most amount of views in this channel. So thank you so much for that, and thank you so much for supporting this channel. If you do enjoy this kind of video, give it a like and subscribe to see more in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.